Hey guys, Grady's mom here with a cooking video for you. This is a soup that I literally made up. What I tend to do is when I really am in a kind of a bind and don't know what to make and I know that I want a soup, I've told you guys before in videos, I just look in my fridge and I see what I have for meat if I want meat in the soup, which normally I do. I love my meat. So about a month ago, I had some of this, which is the Oscars. It's the smoked kielbasa. Obviously, 99.9% of you won't be able to have this kind because this comes from a very specific smokehouse in New York. So I have friends and family that send me my goodies from Oscars, and you can only get it at Oscars, which is in upstate New York. So with that said, if you can't obviously get this, which most of you can't, then just get a good kielbasa in your local grocery store. If you can get a smoked kielbasa, even better, but usually in the grocery store you can just get like regular beef kielbasa. If you don't like beef, they also have, you know, turkey kielbasa or pork kielbasa, but you definitely want a kielbasa. Smoked would be even better. So what I did, like I said, is about a month ago, I had this, and it sort of inspired me to make a soup. And then what I do, if something that I just make on a whim comes out really, really good, I actually write it down in a way that I will be able to remember how to do everything. Now, last time I made this soup in a crock pot. This time I'm going to just make it on the stovetop. Either way is fine, and I will put down below, like I always do, all the times and stuff if you want to do it in the crock pot or if you want to do it on the stovetop. One main thing is, last time I made this soup, I used Chinese cabbage, also known as Napa cabbage. I absolutely loved it. I think the cabbage is what made me fall in love with the soup so much. However, I went to 2 different grocery stores this morning and neither one of them had the Chinese cabbage, which is, again, Napa cabbage. They only had the regular cabbage, like the kind we would use for corned beef. And I like that kind of cabbage, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it would be quite right for this soup, so I did not get it. Another option you could do in this soup is kale. I just wasn't in the mood for kale. I think I'm kaled out for a little while because I ate so much of it. So, and again, I'll put everything down below in the comments so that you guys know what your options are. So you could put kale, but I would recommend Napa cabbage if you can get it chopped up. I could not get it. I was so disappointed. I even asked the produce guy and he said they did not have it. So I am going to improvise the same recipe without the Napa cabbage. So this recipe is going to have the star of the show, which is the kielbasa. I'm going to use some matchstick carrot. You can use any carrot. Obviously, it doesn't have to be cut like this, but you can shred it or slice it. I have some dried Italian seasoning. I have some olive oil. Any kind will do. Extra virgin is better. I have some white beans, also known as cannellini beans. You can use organic or not organic. And then I have some organic diced tomatoes, and non-organic is fine as well. I'm just using what I had in my pantry. And then I have 32 ounces of chicken broth, which is obviously the soup part of it. I also have a white onion. Some people like to call them yellow onions. I'm going to use about half of that. And I'm probably going to use this whole yellow pepper because it's not very big. If it was a big pepper that you had, I would maybe use half or 3/4 of it. And then celery, I'm going to use about 2 of these stalks. And lastly, I'm going to use, last time I used half a jar of pasta sauce. As you can see, this is a bit less than a half, so I'm going to use every bit of this. And then I actually have in my fridge, I'll show you guys, I actually have up on top, or right here actually, some homemade pasta sauce. It's actually homemade pork sauce that I made over the weekend. So I'm just going to use, I don't know, 3 tablespoons of this sauce to make up for the fact that I don't have enough in that jar. So just improvise the best that you can, because you will need, let's see, if this jar is, I think it's like, it's 24-ounce jar, so you're going to need roughly 12 ounces, roughly, of tomato sauce. So I'm going to get started with the process and show you guys how easy this is, and hopefully you guys will give it a try. Okay guys, I just have my kielbasa sliced up like that, and I've had it just pan frying for a couple minutes. And I'm gonna let it keep going just for a couple more minutes. And back behind me, I have my cutting board and I'm getting all my veggies prepped. I just have my half onion prepped and then my yellow pepper all diced up. And I'm just gonna keep working on getting the celery diced up. I'm going to get the beans out of the can and drain them. These are good to go. I just have to open the can. My carrots are already cut up, as you guys see. So I just have my celery left and my beans I have to get rinsed, and then I will show you guys what we do from here. Okay guys, so I have some nice, it's hard to see with all the steam, but I have some nice color going on the kielbasa, and as you can see how it's getting all crispy on the bottom? That's what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and add some olive oil, and then I'm going to add my carrot first because that is a root vegetable, which takes longer to soften up. So I'm going to add a nice handful of carrot. I'm going to add my onion and my pepper right in. And kind of work that around. Kind of stir that around and get that all combined. Okay, I'm just going to get my celery chopped up and I will show you the next very important step. Okay guys, so I put the celery in and see how there is all that burnt kind of brown bits on the bottom. What we want to do is we want to get all those brown bits off the bottom. So we are going to do some what's called deglazing. I'm going to pour some chicken broth. I don't know, about a quarter of that container. Crank the heat up. And that broth is going to loosen. See how it's loosening that? All those brown bits. We want all of those brown bits. That is flavor. It's just such an important step if you really want a good flavor. Anytime you see those brown bits and that kind of, it almost looks burnt, it's flavor. You want it. So what I'm doing, like I said, is I poured about a quarter of that carton of broth, just enough to loosen. So I'm loosening all those brown bits that were on the bottom. So I'm just going to keep working my spoon to loosen all those bits, and then I'm going to add the rest of the broth and bring it up to a boil. Okay guys, so I finished getting the brown bits up, and then I just poured in that jar of sauce that I showed you guys that was only about a third full. So I just poured that in. Let me turn the fan on low here. And then next I have my organic diced tomatoes. I'm going to pour that in. I'm not going to drain any of the liquid because we want all of the liquid. I'm going to get my heat back up because we want to bring this back up to a boil. And I'm just going to work this in like that. And then I'm going to pour the rest of my chicken broth in. And we want to bring this up to a boil. So I have every drop of that was a 32-ounce carton. And now it's starting to really look like something here. So I'm just going to keep stirring this. And now I'm going to get my beans ready and my seasonings ready to go in. Okay guys, so I have my cannellini beans that I rinsed. You have to rinse canned beans extremely well. When you know they're rinsed is when they don't look soapy anymore because they have that little bit of bubbly, soapy look when they come out of the can. So I have my whole can going in. Now if I was adding the cabbage or the kale, I wouldn't add the beans. I didn't put the beans in last time because I had so much of that cabbage. I would highly recommend the cabbage if you can find it, that Napa cabbage. It really gave this soup a really special element and a nice crunch. It just went so well with the kielbasa. So as you can see, this is just about to come up to a nice bubble. And as soon as it comes up to a boil, I'm going to turn the heat really low down and just let it simmer on a very low heat for about an hour, and then it is going to be done. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get there, guys. Okay, lastly, I don't want to forget, before it comes up to that bubble, I have my Italian seasoning. And I'm just going to do, if I can get it open with one hand, I'm just going to do a nice hearty shake like that. And then I'm also going to add just some black pepper. I'm not going to add salt because of the kielbasa and the chicken broth has salt. And you can always add salt later if you need to. So I'm just going to stir the Italian seasoning and the black pepper in. It just looks like it's coming up to a boil now. It's getting nice and bubbly. It smells so good. So I'm just going to give this a nice stir, and now I'm going to turn my heat all the way to low, as my lens is really foggy. And I'm just going to let this work, and I will show you guys about halfway till it's done, and then the final product. It smells amazing. Okay guys, so we are about halfway done, and actually I just tasted it, and I really don't think it's going to need that much longer. Like I said in the beginning, last time I made this soup, I made it in the crock pot, which is obviously a much lower, slower way of cooking. So today was my first time making it on the stovetop. So I'm going to say all it really needs once you take it from a boil down to a simmer is about an hour, and then just stir it, you know, a couple times. I tasted it, it's absolutely delicious. So I'm just going to put the cover on, turn the heat off, and just let it kind of come back down to, you know, room temperature. And then when it's time to eat tonight, I'm just going to heat it back up to a boil and serve it. I'm going to make some of the Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. I'll show you guys these. You have to try these if you haven't already tried them. They are these right here. And if you guys have never had these at Red Lobster, they are so delicious, like it's crazy. And these I get at Walmart. I believe other grocery stores are carrying them now. They're pretty inexpensive. They're about $2 to $3 for this box, and when I tell you they taste exactly like that, I am not kidding. So the box makes 10 biscuits, and me and my husband and my son just love them. So I will just make these tonight, heat up the soup, and my dinner is done. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this cooking video. I'll give you one last look before I sign off. And it's thickening up really nicely. Again, I really wish I had that Napa cabbage. I'm going to have to just keep an eye out for it in the market whenever I go. I don't know if it's just seasonal or they just only have it certain times of year. But this is a really healthy soup, actually, when you think about it. Besides the kielbasa, there's really no fat in there at all. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.